Imagine a massive volume of the world's daily energy supply forced through a geographical bottleneck barely 20 miles wide. That is the Strait of Hormuz, a passage so dense with commercial traffic that a single disruption can destabilize global markets in a matter of hours. For decades, the United States maintained the capacity to monitor and restrict nearly every commercial vessel entering the Persian Gulf. When Washington sought to pressure Tehran, it used this maritime reach to establish a blockade, attempting to isolate the Iranian economy from the global grid. But the expected economic collapse never followed. Despite the physical presence of a massive naval force and the weight of international sanctions, the Iranian economy remained functional. Instead of retreating, Tehran assumed control of the shipping lanes itself. Armed Iranian speedboats began regular patrols, asserting their own authority over the merchant ships attempting to navigate the corridor. By attempting to squeeze the region, the U.S. strategy created a vacancy. The very nation targeted by the blockade assumed the role of regulating the channel, dictating the terms of movement for the world's trade. The waterway now functions under a new set of rules. Enemy ships are turned away, friendly vessels are granted passage, and every captain approaching the strait is now expected to radio the Iranian military for explicit clearance. This policy was recently put to the test when an Indian commercial tanker, the Bhagya Lakshmi, attempted a routine transit. When the tanker requested clearance, the Iranian Navy issued a direct denial. The radio log captured the exchange. "There is no permission for you. You are to go back to your departure immediately." These restrictions extend even to international military vessels, which are now frequently blocked or diverted, unless they coordinate their movements directly with Iranian command. This represents a shift in the status of international waters. Safe passage is no longer a guaranteed right. It is a conditional grant, subject to the immediate approval of the Iranian military. This raises a practical question. How does a nation under a naval blockade still generate billions in trade revenue? They utilize a tactic known as ghost transfers. By deactivating transponders and navigating through unmonitored sectors, tankers slip past the blockade and into the open ocean. Once they clear the Persian Gulf, these tankers travel thousands of miles east, towards Southeast Asia. At sea, the Iranian vessels rendezvous with empty Chinese tankers. Side by side, they tether together and pump millions of barrels of crude oil directly between the ships, away from any port or official oversight. This method allows millions of tons of oil to reach China without ever appearing on a customs manifest or an official shipping log. The consequences of this evasion ripple back to Western economies. By manipulating the global supply of energy, Tehran has contributed to rising inflation. In the United States, these shifts drove fertilizer prices so high that most American farmers were forced to scale back production. By mastering these evasion routes, Tehran turned a local naval standoff into a mechanism for economic leverage, directly impacting agricultural costs and fuel prices in the West. Moving the oil is only the first step. The broader goal is to use this economic pressure to secure political concessions. Eventually, the mounting costs of inflation and supply chain disruptions reached a point where Western leaders began seeking a way to reopen the channel. When Donald Trump announced a deal to restore trade, the messaging was framed as a diplomatic success. However, it signaled a shift in the status quo. The route was reopening, but only under the operational roles Iran had established. The concessions were significant. In exchange for the flow of goods, the U.S. and its allies agreed to halt military strikes on targets in Lebanon. This shift quickly impacted regional policy. The Israeli government soon rolled back wartime restrictions on its civilian population as part of the broader de-escalation. Throughout this process, Iran maintained its stockpile of enriched uranium, ensuring that its long-term strategic leverage remained intact. The standoff demonstrates that control over a vital choke point can neutralize the impact of superpower sanctions. When a nation manages a global corridor, it gains the ability to dictate the terms of trade and diplomacy to the rest of the world.